why do you think that this upsurge, what is attributed to this upsurge?
Well, it's very clearly been associated, really, with the rise to power of Barack Obama, the country's first black president, of course, and what that rise to power really represents, which is an ongoing racial demographic change in this country. The Census Bureau has predicted that whites will lose their majority by about the year 2050. So, faced with a black president and that reality, some in this country are reacting with real fury, a combination of fear, resentment, hatred, and sometimes just white-hot anger. I should mention it's not only what we classify as hate groups that are growing, but in fact, much more explosively, so-called patriot groups, the groups we used to think of as militias back in the 1990s, which rose from a mere 149 in 2008, before Obama appeared on the scene, and as of last year had reached 1,274 groups. That is a 755% increase in just 3 years.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these patriot groups. I do have some questions about it. I mean, I saw We Are Change, Oath Keepers. I mean, I know a lot of people in these groups. And what constitutes someone as to put on your radar of putting them on as, you know, why is patriotism bad? I mean, what are these people doing that constitutes you guys to be watching them?
Well, it's not remotely a suggestion that patriotism, quote unquote, is bad. That is simply what these groups, as a general matter, call themselves. A good example is Oath Keepers, the group you just mentioned. Oath Keepers does portray itself as kind of a mainstream group which asks its members, law enforcement officials, retired and present military, to retake the oath of office, the oath to defend the Constitution against all foreign enemies and domestic, all enemies foreign and domestic. That's totally reasonable, and certainly no one here has any objection to that whatsoever. What Oath Keepers is really about, though, is the core militia ideology, the conspiracy theory that the government is engaged in a secret plot.
But Mark, I mean, a lot of people do adhere to that, not just these so-called patriot groups, but I mean, even top-level government officials have said that there's the continuity of government in place. Also, the NDAA, I mean, when you look at things like this, can you really blame people for maybe thinking that that is in the works or being paranoid about those things?
Well, yes, I can blame people because it's simply false, and that if one pays any attention to the real world, one would know those things are false. The National Defense Authorization Act, to which you refer, includes some kind of planning for a possible state of emergency in the future. It is not, repeat, not a blueprint for a New World takeover, New World Order takeover of the United States.
Michael Page, you know, is a faction of one of the most violent racist gangs in the country. Were you guys following this gang before the attack? And if so, I mean, with so many groups that exist and the escalation of all these white supremacist groups, how do we monitor them and prevent attacks like this from happening?
Well, the short answer is yes. We were tracking Wade Michael Page, pardon me, for 12 years. We've been following him since about 2000, when he began to play in white power rock and roll bands around the country. Bands with names like End Apathy, Blue-Eyed Devils, Definite Hate, that kind of thing. He wasn't a member really of a gang. He was a member of a major racist skinhead organization called Hammerskin Nation. He was a part of the regional organization, Northern Hammerskins. You know, yes, we were following him as we follow thousands and thousands of other people involved in the hard fringes of this movement, but I don't criticize law enforcement for not somehow preventing this attack. There really was nothing to suggest that Page was about to start murdering people, and the sad reality is that there are very large numbers of people in this country who have similar ideologies and belief systems to that of Michael Page, pardon me. So sad to say, although some of us knew a fair amount about Page, there really was nothing to be done that is apparent to me in any case that could have saved those people in Wisconsin.